Sonic. We are here again for our next episode of Radio 101, and today we're talking about Motorola CPS, and we're getting into personalities. We're going to start building channels. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking. We're going to get right into it because there's a lot of information that's going to come at you on personalities. Now, please know personalities and what we're doing here is not what the end user sees on the radio. That comes later in zone and channel assignments, where we take these channels and put them into zones for the operator's use. This is to just get the channels organized and into the radio. So let's get right to it with Motorola CPS, conventional personalities. Now, notice I said conventional personalities. We're always working in conventional, right? We're not going to be programmed trunk systems right now. We are programming our conventional channels, analog and digital channels, that are simple and easy for us to manage. So what we're going to do is we're going to first take a look at what is in this Motorola personalities. Okay, they are a means of organizing the channels with like attributes. Channel attributes include critical information. First off, in a single personality, all the channels are going to share the same mode, whether that's a non-astro or analog channel or astro/digital channel. Channel signaling information and timings can be the same. Sometimes in land mobile radio, some things are going to need to float back and forth. For the most part, folks, you don't have to touch any of this. You can take the defaults. It's going to work just fine. Encryption settings. If there are channels that are going to be encrypted on your radio, we're going to set that encryption up and direct that encryption at the personality level. So if I have two different encryptions that I need to set up, say, two different keys for two different departments, I am by default going to have at least two different personalities to manage that. We're also setting up whether these channels are scannable. We're not putting them into scan groups, but we're just saying, yeah, I'm going to want to make this channel available for scan. Okay. Each conventional channel is defined by individual receive and transmit information. We know that. And when we're setting up a personality, it is possible to have a mixed mode channel set up in a personality. All right, so here is my hint for you today. Define your channels into simple and clear personalities. Take a few minutes. We have plenty of space in the software. Build out personalities so that they make sense to you, and so that when you come back to this a year from now or 6 months from now, you understand and it makes sense where you might have put a channel. This is going to make the zone channel assignment much simpler and easier to support in the field. Okay, so that being said, let's get right into Motorola CPS. So I have already opened up my Motorola CPS, and as you can see right here at the top, it tells us the name. This is my 9300 baseline module 1 code plug that we did back on 321. And I saved this code plug. This is my baseline code plug. This is my fallback. If everything goes wrong, this is the code plug I'm going to use. I'm using this one just as an example because I want you to get into a habit of doing something. That habit is before we ever edit a code plug, whether it's an existing code plug, a new code plug, or whatnot. I want you to always get in the habit of going up here and saying save as. And save the code plug, whatever it is. This is no longer my baseline. This is module. And I'm just going to put the date here to today. I'm going to say it's 12/1/21. And I'm going to hit the save button. We always want to have that code plug that we started with as our backup. We know it's in the radio. We know it's working. And if we get into something or we make mistakes, we don't want to have to try to undo things. So get in the habit of saving your code plug before you make edits. All right, we are now in our code plug. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to select conventional configuration. And when you do that, we're going to see some things. Conventional wide, which is just wide information. Conventional alias, repeater ID list, talk group list, conventional system, and then conventional personality. This is where we're starting, is conventional personality. Now this is my default radio and my default code plug still. So it still has a number of personalities in it. Analog 1, digital 1, analog 2, digital 2, analog 3, digital 3. Technosonic sets up its code plugs where analog 1 and digital 1 is the first band on the module. So those have the test frequencies in it for VHF. Analog 2, digital 2 on my radio is UHF, so it has UHF channels there. Analog 3, digital 3 is for the 7800. And then I have front panel programming, so I have multiple personalities for front panel programming. We'll talk about that later. What we want to do is we want to first add our personality. So when you open this up, you can see we have all our personalities here. It's also shown here in the menu system. And that's so you can see where you're working once we move beyond this screen. So what I am going to do is I'm going to come across the top here and I'm going to hit the plus mark. And we can see I've added conventional personality number 25. Okay. What we're going to do here is I am now going to go into the folder view for conventional personality number 25. And this is what a basic personality looks like. We have the personality name. I'm going to start by naming the personality, something that's going to mean to me. So I'm going to call this statewide PD. We'll call it statewide PD because that's the channels I'm going to be putting into this personality. Now I'm just going to start answering some questions. Receive only personality? No, it's not a receive only. Receive voice signal type. This is listed as non-astro. You only have a couple options. Non-astro, again, is an analog channel. Mixed mode on the receive side means it will listen to both a digital signal or an analog signal. Astro is digital. So what we're always programming, we always have to match this. So I'm going to say this is a non-astro. The rest of this information, unmute, squelch, busy, de-emphasis, hear clear, we can leave that standard. We don't have to mess with that. We're going to come down here and now we're going to ask the next question. Transmit options. Okay, my signal type, again, I'm leaving that as non-astro and we can move past the rest of these items. Simple enough. We've just set the mode for all of the channels we're going to place in this personality. So we don't have to go through and tell every channel what the receive and transmit modes are. We just did that as a blanket for all of these channels. The next section we see here is frequency options. Folks, this is where we're going to build our channels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 channels into this personality. 1, 2, and 3. I want you to note something. Personality name came up as conventional personality number 25. All of these other ones, this would have been conventional personality 1, conventional personality 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down. All with the same name, just the number differentiating. Okay? That's why we wanted to name our personality. The other reason is right here what we just did in adding channels, option 1, option 2, option 3. Every personality starts, those channel names are called option 1, option 2, option 3. So you can imagine how confusing it can get real quick if I have 10 personalities all with an option 1 as channel 1. We want to take our time and make sure we get all of these items ironed out and set up right away. Now there's 2 ways to do this. We can start right here and work across the table and answer the questions that need to be answered. I don't necessarily like to do that. That seems kind of hard to me because it always has, there's a lot of items in here and checking one box might light up something else. What I prefer is go ahead and go to the folder view of the first channel. Now I can just set things up very simply. We can see how this whole channel is set up. Here's our personality information. Here's my frequency, my number 1 frequency. Name your frequency what you want to name it in the zone later. Right here. So I'm going to call this, region 1. And I'm going to put my transmit and my receive frequencies in. Now you do have to delete the one that's there. So I'm going to say this is 154.25. And I'm going to say 154.25. It's a direct channel. Okay. Our deviation channel spacing is at 12.5. That's standard. That's what you want to keep it at. And now you can see network IDs are grayed out. Since we're an analog channel, we're not going to be setting a NAC code or a talk group. User selectable PL is disabled. This is called user selectable PLs will allow the operator to select the PL from the list that we have predefined. We're not there yet. We're just going to set up some simple channels, so we're going to leave that as disabled. The next question type is my receive squelch type. Okay. Right now it's set to CSQ, which is open squelch. Okay. This is where we could also tell it to have the receive frequency to have a PL tone, to assign a PL tone or DPL tone. So on channel 1, I'm leaving this as carrier squelch. Down here then, all of this is grayed out. And I'm going to come down here to transmit squelch type. That's disabled. Okay. I can either have a PL, DPL, or no PL. Disabled is no PL. So I'm going to leave this as just a straight up simple channel 154.25 open squelch. That's done. I can move to number 2, clicking the arrow here. I'm going to call this dispatch. And we're going to put my frequency in here, 162.75. And I'm going to put this in here as 154.25. Okay, I'm just choosing numbers here. Now you see I have set up a repeater channel. And it's asking me here, direct talk around. Do I want the operator to be able to hit the direct button and do a talk around? Now, as we talked early on and when we're talking about setting up channels, direct talk around is a challenge for a lot of aircraft. It causes problems because we don't necessarily have an indication that the radio was put into direct mode. And when we press a direct button, again, that puts all of the channels on that entire module into direct mode. So I'm going to say no. I'm not going to allow this dispatch repeater channel to go into direct mode. Then we answer the continuing questions. Squelch type on this one, I'm going to put a PL tone. If I select PL tone, right below it is my PL tone that I can select. And it has all the valid PLs right here. So I'm going to select PL 192.8 for my receive frequency. And on my transmit frequency, I'm going to select the same. And my frequency is done. I'm all set. I have a repeater frequency and we're using PL tone 192.8 on both the receive and the transmit. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the next button and I have channel 3. And let's call this channel red 1. Okay, this is red 1 channel. And we're going to put our frequency in here, whatever it happens to be. And it can be VHF, UHF 800. So I could put a UHF frequency of 420 and 420 because of my module allows that. We can mix the frequencies in a personality. So if we have a module that allows us VHF, UHF, or VHF 800, or whatever the mix is, we can mix those frequencies in a personality. And we're going to come down here, and I'm just going to give this, a DPL. right down here of 54. And I'm going to leave the transmit squelch type is open. All right, so I have now built 3 frequencies, and we can take a look here and see that now I have 3 frequencies in the radio: region, dispatch, and red 1. It's a pretty simple process. As long as we have the information, we can go through and we can put the information in very simply. Now, as we scroll down a little farther, from our basic knowledge, we don't have to mess with the signaling. The signaling is set up. There are a couple options down here as we roll down. Features. Okay. Phone, one touch, secure. This is where we would tie in into secure. This is where we would define the encryption key and settings that you want to use for these channels. Secure is one of the things. So if I select a key here, I don't have one currently listed or programmed, so I can't select it. But if I have a key, or we're going to put keys in, this is where the keys go for those channels. And it's one key, however we want to set it up. Okay, we have advanced. I'm going to scroll back up here. And underneath this setting of features is scan. Okay, do I want to make these channels scannable? I can put them available for scan list 1. If I have multiple scan lists that I want to build, I can have it for scan list 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever we build into it. This is where we tell it. This doesn't build the scan list. All it does is says these channels are available for this scan list. So we have now gone through and we have built ourselves an entire personality. And we did it in 10 minutes. We named it. We set up its signaling type and its modes. We set up 3 different channels. One is a direct open squelch channel. One is a repeater channel with a PL tone. The other is an operating channel with a DPL tone. All pretty straightforward and simple, and you can see all the information right here across the line. So as you start to get into this, this is how this is going to look. This is how you build it. Once you have this built, you can take a look at, let's take a look at one that's already built here. I'm going to go here to this one. Save changes. I can say yes because I renamed it. And let's see if we can open up another code plug. My computer wants to be a little slow here. Okay, here's my next code plug. I'm going to go in here to channel conventional configuration, conventional personalities, and you can kind of see how we organized I organized one of these code plugs. In this case, conventional personalities, you can see I have quite a few here. What I have listed here is I have my fire guard frequencies. I have my weather channels. I have marine channels. I still have my test channels. I have mutual aid, federal incident response analog, federal incident response digital. So we can build these out in a way that makes sense to us, so that when we're going back to order and manage this code plug, we're not hunting all over the place for conventional personality 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a name that makes sense to you and put those channels in and build the next one. Building a personality takes no time at all. It's a pretty simple process, and it makes organizing things and doing things down the road later. Very, very simple. As an example, on this particular code plug, we can see FireGuard, weather, marine, test, incident responses. If I look on my zone channel, look at there. Fire, weather, marine, mutual aid, PS mutual aid, federal interop, interop, law enforcement, tests. I even have a CAL FIRE zone. So that's how you put them together. Take your time and organize this in a way that makes sense to you, because it's going to save you a lot of work and a lot of headache down the road. So I hope this is helpful to you. Thank you for joining us for Radio 101. If you have any questions, always feel free to contact me at jhuddock@til.ca. We're happy to help you out. And we'll see you next time when we take some of these channels and now we start to put them into zones so that we get the basics of our code plug out of the way and we can start looking at some of the other features in Motorola CPS. Thanks again. You guys have a great day and a good time and fun with CPS. Bye-bye.